In the middle of a lonely mountain in a small mud cottage lived an old man named Mahbub Alam. He was about 75 years old. That night he was fast asleep. Everything around was silent. The night had grown very deep. Suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. Startled, he opened his eyes. Muttering to himself, he said, "Who could come to my door at such an hour? I've never seen anyone come to this deserted place." But the knocking did not stop. Instead, the door began to shake even harder. Slowly, he got out of bed, walked toward the door, and opened it. The moment he opened the door, he froze in shock. Outside stood two young women, Rui and Sarah. There was a strange charm on both of their faces, and in the moonlight they looked even brighter. In that instant, an unknown stir rose inside Mahbub Alam's chest. In a trembling voice he asked, "Who are you? What are you doing in such an empty place at this hour of the night?" Ruhi replied in a calm tone, "We were on our way to Bhagalpur, but we lost our way. Please let us stay for one night. We will leave in the morning." The old man looked at them for a while, then finally said, "Come inside." The two girls entered the room. He pointed toward a corner of the cottage and said, "Lie down there and get some rest." Rui and Saira lay down there. Gradually, silence returned to the surroundings. But in the last part of the night, Rui suddenly felt as if someone was standing beside her. Half asleep, she opened her eyes and saw Mahbub Alam standing in front of her, staring at her with a strange look. Rui suddenly sat up and said, "What happened?" "Why are you here?" The old man replied in a calm voice, "No, nothing happened. I thought you were feeling cold, so I came to give you a blanket." Ruhi, irritated, snatched the blanket from him. Then, turning her face away, she lay down again. But even after she fell asleep, Mahbub Alam stood silently for a long time, continuing to watch the two of them with strange eyes. The night passed and it was dawn. Ruhi and Saira came and said to Mahbub Alam, "We need to leave now." The old man remained silent for a while, just staring at them. Then in a calm voice he said, "No, you cannot leave today. You must stay for one more night." The two of them looked at each other in surprise. Saira asked, "Why? Why aren't we leaving today?" Mahbub Alam said in a slow voice, "No arrangements have been made yet. I hope a caravan will pass this way tomorrow morning. I will send you with them then." Hearing the mention of a caravan, the girls felt somewhat reassured. They looked at each other and said, "Then let's stay here until tomorrow morning." Although the old man was happy inside, he said nothing, and the whole day, from a distance, he just sat and stared at them. The intensity in his gaze was now even sharper. Evening fell. The girls went to their corner and lay down, but a shadow of doubt and fear was growing dense in their minds. On the other hand, Mahbub Alam, though lying on his own bed, stared at them continuously. When the night grew deep, he slowly got up from his bed. He moved silently toward the girls. First, he went to Ruhi, sat near her feet, and began to slowly caress her hand. Suddenly, Ruhi stirred, waking up in fear. She quickly moved away. He then went and sat beside Saira. Taking Sarah's hand in his own, he stared for a while. His eyes held only desire. Suddenly, Sarah opened her eyes and started to scream. But in an instant, Mahbub Alam covered her mouth so that no sound could escape. Then he quickly returned to his own bed and lay down, as if nothing had happened. Sayara stayed awake the entire night. Terrified, she kept wondering why the old man had come near her. What was his intention? But at some point, amidst the fear, she finally fell asleep. Morning came. Ruhi and Sayara went to Mahbub Alam and said, "So, has the caravan arrived? Please let us leave now." The old man sat silently for a while, staring at them. Then in a slow voice he said, "No, the caravan hasn't arrived yet. but it might come by evening. The girls were surprised. Rui said, "But you told us the caravan would arrive at dawn today." The old man replied in a tired tone, "Yes, it was supposed to come, but it got delayed." The two looked at each other and said, "We're not staying here anymore. Whether the caravan comes or not, we're leaving today." They began preparing to go, but Mahbub Alam sat in the yard, watching them from a distance with strange eyes. Rui said to Sayara, "I don't like the way he's looking at us." Sayara nodded and replied, "You're right. We should get out of here as soon as possible." "He came near me again last night," Rui whispered. "He did the same to me." "We can't stay here another night." They decided to leave before evening. But before the sun could set, Mahbub Alam himself came to them and said, "I think the caravan will arrive in the morning. They're carrying a lot of goods, so they move slowly. Stay just one more night." This time the girls were angry. They said, "We don't want to stay any longer. Caravan or not, we're leaving right now." Mahbub Alam tried to convince them, "It's getting dark. Where will you go in this mountain area at night? Wild animals roam around." There was more cunning than concern in his voice. The girls exchanged glances and understood that this was just another excuse. Still, they said, "Fine, we'll stay. But tomorrow morning, no matter what, we're leaving." The old man smiled faintly, but behind that smile something else was hidden. Night fell. Ruhi and Sayara were very cautious this time. They lay down together in one corner, but they didn't close their eyes. They whispered softly to each other as if sharing their fear would make it lighter. Ruhi said, "Keep your eyes closed so it looks like we're asleep." Sayara nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Mahbub Alam lay on his bed, one eye half open, watching them again and again, trying to see if they were truly asleep. After a while, when it seemed the girls had stopped moving, he slowly closed his eyes, but his chest was pounding faster and faster. At last, he quietly got out of bed, walked silently toward them, and stood there for a long time, just staring at them. Then he sat down by Rui's feet and began gently massaging them. Rui moved slightly in her sleep. Startled, Mahbub Alam quickly pulled back, then went to sit beside Sayara. He softly placed his hand on her forehead, stroking gently. But Sayara suddenly opened her eyes. Her whole body shivered with fear. She quickly turned over and lay face down. She said nothing, but it was clear that she was awake. Mahbub Alam slowly got up again and went back to his bed. A wave of excitement trembled inside his chest, but there was no sign of remorse on his face. Morning had arrived. Ruhi and Sayara came forward and said in a harsh tone, "Did you arrange the caravan? Or is there another new excuse again?" Mahbub Alam stayed silent for a moment, then said softly, "No, the caravan hasn't arrived." Sayara, in anger, said, "We knew it. No caravan was ever going to come. You've kept us trapped here for some other reason." Rui spoke firmly, "We're not staying here for another moment." They held each other's hands and started to walk out of the cottage. But as they reached the door, they saw Mahbub Alam blocking their way. In a cold, calm voice, he said, "You can't leave from here." Rui shouted, "Move aside! Otherwise we'll scream." The old man slowly replied, "There's no one near to hear your voices. On this mountain you won't find anyone to help you." Sayara glared sharply and said, "At your age you're still keeping us locked in like this? Aren't you even ashamed?" The old man became serious and said, "It's not the way you think. The man you're going to look for in Bhagalpur, maybe he's somewhere around here. Trust me, you have to stay just one more night." Ruhi asked suspiciously, "How did you know we were going to Bhagalpur to find someone?" The old man said slowly, "I can't tell you everything now, but tomorrow you'll get all your answers." The girls stood frozen, staring at each other in disbelief. 1,000 questions swirled through their minds, but they could no longer trust the old man. Listening to his words made Ruhi and Sayara even more restless. They pushed him aside and rushed out of the cottage. From behind, Mahbub Alam shouted, "Stop! Everything will be ruined if you leave now." But the girls didn't stop. They kept walking farther and farther until finally, exhausted, they sat down at one spot. Their hearts were pounding, fear and anxiety clearly visible in their eyes. Just then, from behind, an old man appeared again and stood before them. His breathing was fast, and his voice carried a mysterious gravity. He said slowly, "I'm telling you for the last time, if you stay with me tonight, you won't have to go to Bhagalpur." Rui asked in a firm tone, "If you really know something, then why don't you just say it clearly right now?" The old man took a deep breath and said, "If I tell you now, everything will collapse. Just know this, Bausch. Both of you are searching for your husbands." Hearing this, Rui and Sayara froze. It felt as if their breath had stopped. In trembling voices, they said, "Yes, we're looking for our husbands. But how did you know that?" Mahbub Alam replied with a grave face, "I know everything. But there's only one condition. Tonight, you both must stay with me. Then, and only then, I'll answer all of your questions." The girls looked at each other stunned, along with fear, suspicion, and confusion shimmered in their eyes. Is this some kind of new trick? Or is there really a hidden mystery behind it? After a long silence, Rui finally said, "Fine, I'll stay. But this will be the last night." Not a moment more after that, Sayara nodded in agreement. A sparkle of joy appeared in the old man's eyes, as if the long wait of many years was finally coming to an end. Rui and Sayara at last agreed. They were walking ahead, and Mahbub Alam was following them from behind. In his eyes there was a strange light, as though the final moment of a long-awaited event had arrived. After returning to the cottage, everyone laid down in their places. But this time, the girls were much more cautious. Even when they closed their eyes, sleep didn't come. They whispered softly to each other. Rui said, "We'll keep our eyes closed, but we won't sleep." Sayara agreed, "Yes, he can't be trusted." Mahbub Alam sat on his bed, but his gaze stayed fixed on the girls. The deeper the night grew, the more restless he became. Late at night, he slowly stood up. Silently, he moved forward and first sat beside Rui. He stared at her for a long time, then suddenly placed his hand on her chest. Rui instantly pushed his hand away and turned her face aside in anger. The old man then quietly got up and went near Sayara. He stood there gazing at her face for a long while, then gently placed a kiss on her cheek. Sayara was startled. She frowned and turned her face downward. She said nothing, but her body's reaction made it clear. She was awake. Mahbub Alam went back to his bed and lay down again. There was no regret in his eyes, only a strange sense of waiting, as if something was about to happen. The first light of dawn broke through the clay walls and entered the room. Ruhi and Sayara were still awake. Instead of sleep, their faces showed anxiety and fear. Without wasting another moment, they quietly slipped out of the cottage. They walked a long distance, and then their eyes fell upon a young man sitting in one corner. He was sitting silently, his face turned the other way. The two women, surprised, walked closer and asked, "Who are you?" The young man slowly turned his face. In that very moment, Ruhi and Sayara's bodies trembled. They screamed out, "Oh! That's our husband!" Both of them ran forward and hugged him tightly. Tears streamed down their cheeks as if, after a long search, their dreams had finally come true. In trembling voices, they asked, "How did you come here? Are we dreaming?" The young man pulled them close to his chest and said softly, "No, this isn't a dream. I've truly come back, Ruhi," and Sayara's hearts filled with joy. Years of pain seemed to vanish in a single moment. They asked again, "But where were you all this time? And how did you end up in that old man's house?" "We didn't like him at all." "Do you know him?" The young man, with deep eyes, looked at them slowly and said, "First, call him here." "See where he is." Ruhiya and Sayara searched every corner of the cottage, but Mahbub Alam was nowhere to be found. They came back and said, "He's vanished. It's like he just disappeared." The young man sighed deeply and said, "Yes. Where he went, that's something you'll have to understand yourselves. But before that, do you want to know where I've been all this time?" Both of them said together, "Yes. Tell us. We want to know." The young man began to speak slowly. "One day I was going to the market. On the way, I met an old man and a beautiful girl. The old man looked like a saint and the girl was strangely attractive. I jokingly said to her, 'You're so beautiful. But why are you with this old man? You should be with a young man instead.' But there was a strange spark in the girl's eyes. She looked straight at me, whispered a few words, and blew a breath on me. In that very moment, I turned into that old man. My real face disappeared. Rui and Sayara stood frozen, listening silently. The young man continued. The girl said, 'This is your punishment. You will remain like this for the rest of your life. But there is only one condition. If your true loved ones spend time with you, recognize your real self, and if their love is pure, only then will you be free. But you can never reveal your identity yourself.' Tears filled both their eyes. In a trembling voice they asked, 'Then, were you that old man, Mahbub Alam?' The young man lowered his head slowly and said, 'Yes, I was that old man.' Ruhi and Sayara's hearts trembled. They ran to him and threw their arms around his neck. Tears rolled down their cheeks. 'Forgive us,' they cried. 'We couldn't recognize you.' The young man gently placed his hand on their heads and said softly, 'It's not your fault. Your hearts were true and your love was pure. That truth has broken my curse.' The three of them embraced tightly, and together they began to walk a new path of life. Their bond became stronger, filled with deeper faith and trust. Moral of the story, a person's true identity isn't in their outer appearance. It lies in the honesty of their heart and the purity of their love. True love crosses all barriers, endures every trial, and always finds its way back. So, my friends, this was today's story. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.